Alright, so I got kind of a somber video for you guys here, and maybe you won't care. And if you don't, then you don't. Whatever. But we'll start this off by this. This is something very closely resembling a noose tied with an air hose. It adjusts. And it's not 6 feet around. And this isn't the most supple air hose either. This is PVC. This isn't a rubber air hose. This is cheap. This is a cheap air hose. It's literally that easy, okay? Now imagine you show up to work and you find this at your workstation, hanging at your workstation. Probably not a very good implication for what the guys that work around you think. Forgive the weird camera angle here. We're making do with what we can in my shop here. And that right there, that is a Navy Justice knot. Or darn near close to it, short of a couple wraps. There is a fisherman's knot, okay? And a fisherman's knot closely resembles a noose and also functions as one, and you can easily make one out of an air hose. Here's a bowline knot. Not a noose. Closely resembles one. Could symbolize one. Could easily take and make a running bowline. And now you have something that could potentially work as a noose. I think I've demonstrated my point here. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. There has been an allegation of racism in the workplace at Palmetto State Armory. And not that it really matters to me, because there are racist people all over this entire earth. And for what it's worth, I have my own personal beliefs and stereotypes, you might call it. I believe in some things that people may or may not agree with. But I do not find it necessary, nor do I find it appropriate, acceptable, or decent to take those beliefs and make someone uncomfortable or miserable, much less at the workplace, a coworker. If a guy needs run off of a crew, you can just flat tell him that he's a cull, that you need to run him off, whatever the deal is. But we're going to focus on race here. And whether you like it or not, I recently moved out of a place that I call Little Mexico. Okay, I moved 5 miles up the road from Little Mexico back into the USA again, okay? And I didn't even cross any state lines. I mean, that's the kind of place I was living in. I was the only ethnic white person. I was the only American national for about a mile. I'd be willing to bet, for about a mile. Half a mile maybe. I would have been pretty darn sad if the Mexican folks that lived in that place made me feel unwelcome or unwanted because I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go. I lived there. Okay? At my job. Let's pretend I was an ethnic minority at my job. And I've got nowhere to go because I'm not very bright. I don't have skills that can make money. I only know how to cut trees. And so I'm an ethnic minority, and people make my life hell at the workplace because I choose to speak about something that's important to me at the workplace. And so what's happened is a man who worked for Palmetto State Armory, his employment was terminated, and he has since filed a lawsuit for workplace racism, and that his supervisory personnel, company HR, and presumably all the way up to the top, allowed this to happen, perhaps encouraged it, and that it ultimately resulted in him losing his job. And whether he quit or got fired, I don't care. If someone was treating me like that in the workplace, I would worse than quit. I wouldn't just quit. I would quit and burn that place to the ground. Or the coworkers that worked there. Yeah, it would not be pretty. But, and all of this, it's going to get litigated in a court of law, and so it's not that big of a deal. But what is a big deal to me is that when I went to the comments, this is on James Reeves' video about this lawsuit, and James Reeves is a lawyer and a gun tuber. He's a YouTuber that I've been watching for years and years, since I was a young man. And all of the comments that I read, and so I scrolled through maybe 10, the top 10 comments, and then some of the threads of those. And they all had something to do with discrediting this man's experience because you can't tie a noose out of an air hose. I've been a mechanic for 10 years, and I'll tell you, you can't tie a... Baloney. You're a liar. Part of this triggers me particularly because I've had some bad interactions with humans and had a finger pointed at me like I was the instigator of bad interactions, when not. I'm just at the wrong place at the wrong time. As a matter of fact, I really, really, really love my gun rights. And I also really, really, really love my concealed carry license. I really love the lifestyle that I live. And the last thing I would possibly do is risk losing that by being the instigator of a violent altercation. And I mean, myself aside, gun owners are statistically the most peaceable people on this earth. They are the least likely to commit crimes of most other demographics, and those with concealed carry licenses are the least likely to commit felony crimes of any demographic in this nation of America. So all that aside, that triggers me because I've done nothing in any of those altercations but try to diffuse the situation so they didn't turn to violence, because I am terrified of the day that I have to pull the trigger and harm another human. I don't want to do that. And so I've been luckily able to avoid it through some very, very tense and almost violent altercations. I've been able to avoid that. And had those altercations turned violent, I've got a pretty hopeful idea that I may have been able to solve that with my bare hands and not with a piece of iron. The next thing that triggers me is I have seen people on the internet discredit my wife's experience. And it's different for me because I was there when these things happened. I've witnessed this with my own eyes. I've seen all of this myself. And so to hear all of the rhetorical, quick to discredit, well, you can't even. Well, nobody even. Well, that's 1 out of thousands. Well, how many interactions? Well, you can't even tie a noose out of an air hose. So, didn't happen. Not true. It's baloney. Now, this is being litigated in court. Nobody has decided whether anyone's guilty, whether the company is liable for anything, whether this is a fraudulent claim or whether it's a veritable claim. However, to quickly point the finger at something, a claim of his court case being fraudulent, when it absolutely, for a fact, without a doubt, is more than possible, easily possible, is absolute insanity. And how many people have jumped on that bandwagon? It frightens me. It literally frightens me. So that's going to be enough about that. I'm going to pull my videos about the AAC saber blade black tip bullets. I'm still going to shoot them. I own them. I'm sorry, I can't afford to just throw away a few $100s of components, but I'm not going to advertise for the company, for any company affiliated until further notice. And this isn't meant to condemn Palmetto State Armory. This isn't meant to condemn them as a company or what they've done for the gun community. But until this is litigated, I don't want to offer any support, because that's a major allegation. I've been out doing what I do and being a young man, a wild, full of P&V son of a gun, and a no good, dirty, rotten, low down dog. And there are some allegations in this world that I have made darn sure that I would never, ever, 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 ever get accused of. And if I owned a company, racism would be one of those. I would absolutely, without a doubt, be aware of what goes on in my company, and I would not allow that to continue. And so I find it very difficult to believe that if this allegation is true, that the company has no responsibility in this thing. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pull any advertising I have for that company, and I'm going to sit this out. And I just really hope that you guys have a heart, because whether you're Caucasian or Asian or of African descent, Aboriginal, Native American, I don't care what you are. The idea of being treated as unwelcome in the workplace because of what you believe in, or because of what color your skin is, or what ethnicity or what cultural heritage you hail from, I don't agree with that. I do not believe that that is the American way. To have some debate about things that are that you don't believe in or don't agree with, sure. Maybe it's a thing for outside the workplace. But, to talk to a man about what you think about his I Can't Breathe shirt, you got every right to do that. And you might end up with a friend after. He might end up with a friend after. But to go and haze that man in the workplace because of that, that's something I can't abide. And I might eat my words on this. If Palmetto State Armory comes out clean on this, I really trust that a jury's going to sort this out and do the right thing here. And I'll re-put my videos back up. It's not a big deal. It's just, obviously this is a monetized YouTube account, and I don't want to make money advertising for a company that I don't think is ethical. And currently it's in limbo. Limbo is good enough for me. That's like, if I had a reputation for giving bills to loggers, fraudulent bills to loggers, or if I had a reputation for not paying my guys, I would expect for people to not want to do business with me until that reputation was cleared up. And so that's what this is. So anyway, if you stuck around this long, I hope you guys can speak out about this and think about this too, because this isn't just a black people problem. This is a people problem, and if it was happening to you, you might feel a little differently about it. So